My name is Ashwin Sangvi. I'm the product manager for this service in Azure. And we'll, as you probably know, for the longest time, we've had SAP supported in Azure. This thing is a little bit more focused on HANA. So really, over the last few years, as I talk to CIOs and CXOs, one of the things that has become really, really clear is this digital transformation thing that we've been talking about for a while. It's real now for them, right? It's almost existential. They got to go do that or be taken over by their competition. And generally, we break that down into about 4 of these pushes. They want to engage more with their customers. They want to have their, when we say empower employees, make sure that they have access to the right tools, the right data, everything that they can make decisions on, and maybe touch wider. So have your central data and central systems go touch broader part of your organization. And then optimizing operations. This is again highly connected things. So we have customers who are creating digital mines. Actually, no, it's not digital mining. It's actually like mining for coal and something else, but it is digital. Or digital refineries, or digital marketing, or what have you, whatever function. And then transformation of products. So, the old style of development is going away of anything, not just software, so that people want to be very, very connected with their field customer support as they are developing products. So that's something else they're investing in. And what we see, what we see is generally when we get into these conversations, they're talking about some of these solutions that we have in Azure, and it kind of goes from there. So if it is like, for example, if you say optimize operations, it will be either predictive maintenance or remote monitoring of actually things in their shop. Or if it is empower employees, it will generally translate into some kind of analytics connected with Office 365, this sort of things. So what we'll see is, as I talk to these guys, we generally talk about these things for each one of these areas: productivity, business apps, with maybe Dynamics for SAP, or Azure as a platform, Cortana intelligence with bots and so on. And then security and management, we have a suite called EMS that allows you to very securely connect your whole workforce, wherever they are, into Office, into our identity systems, into the security, and it comes out as a suite. So these are all kind of ingredients to get there. And we typically think of these as the Microsoft Cloud. And the way we separate or distinguish ourselves is this global trusted hybrid, and there's a whole bunch of stuff we can talk about that as to what do we mean by global, all the regions we are in, or trusted, all the certificates we have, or hybrid, which is how Azure in the cloud and Azure on-prem, like Azure Stack, get connected and have kind of consistency between them. But on the subject at hand, right, really, when you just simplify it all for many, many, many organizations, about 200,000 organizations, at the top level, these guys who are at the top, they just simplify all the complexity into like 1 or 2 bullets, right? When they say, hey, I'm putting a plan together, the guy says, all I care about is I need a cloud strategy. I've got little groups doing development in cloud and stuff like that, but now I need like a company-wide cloud strategy. I want to nail that. And I want to nail this other thing, which is I am using NetWeaver on SQL or something else. How do I get that to HANA? And these two are complex things that keeps me awake. I don't even know whether I have all the right people in place in my company to go do that. And what makes it a little bit more complex is, so he looks for a partner to go get this done, but these are kind of intricately entangled decisions. You can't have one partner to take you to the cloud and another to take you to HANA, because they are pretty highly connected. Sometimes the estate of HANA or SAP comes with a surrounding set of applications, and those are entangled. So they just want somebody who can like safely get them over this double journey, I would say. So that's really where, that's where we think Microsoft is in a really good position because of certain things. First one is just kind of enterprise-ready cloud. So we don't have to worry about all the details, but if we just go look at all the Gartner Magic Quadrant, many categories, we've got 17 of those as a leadership category, right? So compared to Amazon, Google, Salesforce all combined, and we can go again into the details of that, but this is kind of a higher level how when a CIO makes a decision, he says, okay, am I covering all my bases with the partner I go to? The next thing to, of course, look at is how far and how deep is the SAP Microsoft relationship. So this thing goes over decades. That's the funniest thing. Look at how young Bill and Hasso was when they first got connected, right, in there. And then over the years, I can go through all the litany of joint development that we've been doing. But there are basically, it's a deep engineering relationship. We have a team in Germany. They have a team involved with us. And we, on a wide scale, on different areas of the company, collaborate and support our customers together. And in many ways, we are one of the largest customers. They are one of the largest resellers of SQL. I mean, it's just a multi-faceted relationship between the two companies. In fact, the last pick out there is from last Sapphire with Satya. So when we think about digital transformation, generally you might have seen this picture, which is kind of what, as Satya calls it, the 3 connected ambitions: cloud platform, productivity, personal computing, all, joined together, and it kind of works with each other. And when we look at it from the Microsoft SAP relationship, what you'll find is, let's say in the productivity area, you'll find everything that we do with Office 365 integration with SAP that comes in. Everything we talk about in terms of deep personal access to data, that's where the insights and analytics comes into play. Right now, I'm just getting focused on this one here, which is cloud platform. So this will be fun. So when these guys start thinking about it, right, think, okay, I'm going to do this journey. I call this tyranny of ors, right? And we'll go into each one of them. But these are all the forces that kind of make the decision complicated. First one being, of course, if you go, is, hey, I'm doing this so that I can go to HANA and use, is it certified for SOH or BW or BW4 or S4 or what have you on HANA. And then, while it's doing that, can I coexist with all my current applications that I have, with NetWeaver, with Oracle, with SQL, with SAP ASE or DB2 or what have you, right? And these things need to sit side by side, because the migration can continue for a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever. So this was kind of the biggest #1 concern in choosing the cloud. And if you see, of course, we've been working hard. This is a continuous process. You're going to have a full team engaged to do the certification. And we basically cover that gamut. We can go into like further details if there are questions, but I don't necessarily need to get into this thing. But really, the whole range of combinations of operating system, databases, and NetWeaver applications, and then OLAP and OLTP applications in SAP HANA. And then, in terms of scale, there's a range to be covered in terms of SAP SAPs or, in the performance. And this is for NetWeaver, cover that whole range, and different combinations of product you want, like all-in-one or dev test or what have you. So now let's go out for the next thing people worry about, like the real next thing, is scale and headroom for production and cloud economics. So this is interesting. If you did not care for cloud economics, you could install a large machine on-prem. But still, they're worried about headroom, right? Because we've seen that over time, the databases grow. We see the HANA databases grow faster than what has been traditionally the growth of NetWeaver databases. So first, you want to make sure that your current workload fits. Then, if you have to change your cloud 2 years from now or a year from now because you outgrow it, that's disastrous. You've done so much to get it one platform, you don't want to do it again. So this was kind of a clear worry that we could see, they're even today constantly asking about. So and then on the flip side is, there's a lot of stuff like dev, test, customer support, training, for which they want, maybe the environment to be up 5–10% of the time, and they want to spin them up, spin them down as required. So this is where they want, the cloud economics to be kind of an on-demand environment. And you're looking for both of these, right? So this is where we really took a couple of things. One was, if you look at the solutions, two things. One thing was range. So we have the GS5, it's about 0.5 terabyte, and you can get started there. And then even little ones, smallest nodes if you want to do dev test kind of nodes. And then, as you want to grow, we announced this in Sapphire and GA, what we call the SAP HANA on Azure large instances. They go in terms of scale up. In fact, we'll probably go through a detail of it, so how far you go. But these are the 4 models that are available, and they come in a package so that the compute, memory, storage, network, everything is optimized for the purposes. So the first 2 are optimized for OLAP workloads, and the next 2 are optimized for OLTP. Of course, we can use any one of them for OLTP if you choose, or if it is multi-tenant. But the big thing is the architecture is such that it can keep going, can keep growing, because it is, we made a kind of a strategic decision that we want an architecture in which you want that both combination, right? So if you look at, like, this is one of the ways of looking at it in terms of RAM in terabytes and CPUs or vCPUs per node for a scale up scenario. And you basically keep seeing us growing up to 3, and you'll see very rapid growth on both those axes. And then when you go to the OLAP, again, you see how far we can go for really large analytic workloads. And on a per terabyte basis, you have way many cores applied to it, or vCPUs, because we have a combination of VMs versus a bare metal here. But that's the kind of power we apply to it. And then the things that people maybe even when they think about bare metal, they say, okay, I got all the power, I got the a very consistent consistency, because there is no noisy neighbor problem that I worry about. So all that stuff is good. And then they say, well, but it cannot have the availability, okay, that I need. And we'll get into how we even solve that problem. So you'll have the availability that is superior, actually, to how you think about general cloud infrastructure. And then, of course, you got this whole range of SKUs, as you call it, so that for dev and test, you can have both the PayGo approach, or big discounts if you want a 1-year or a 3-year commitment for the large instances. And then, other than scale, people are also talking about reach, right? So this is where, this is again a whole separate presentation, but how we connect your enterprise to the cloud and in terms of everything, in terms of identity or networking or what have you, and then consistency, so that you've got a whole bunch of platforms that you were using surrounding SAP on-prem, and now when you take it to the cloud, we still surround it with a similar kind of databases and Office and identity up there, so the movement, if you want to have that, is easy. So the next, like what you call tyranny of OR, is this, security and compliance, because you've got people who've got, hey, I've got this HIPAA or GXP or SOC 2 or whatever thing that I need to comply to for my application. This is a mission critical production environment. And then on the other side, the whole reason you're going to the cloud is dev agility, right? You want to start developing very rapidly stuff around it and innovate real rapidly. So now this thing kind of is the, I would say, opposing forces, because the typical reaction to security and compliance is put it on-prem, put it under my compliance umbrella, under my management umbrella, and I know how to make it, pass my audits. While when you do that, you don't have easy access to all the services and everything that you need to do this rapid development. So how do I go, square that circle? So what you will see is really the way we approach that is we put a lot of work in getting the certifications that we keep doing this for Azure. And on top of certifications, there is also just data sovereignty requirements. So you go have a whole bunch of investments in different regions of the world. So that's kind of the map of compliance. And then if you go to hey, my data cannot move out of this part of the world. We've got 36 Azure regions, and on top of it, government clouds and so on. So we can probably put your data almost anywhere in the world that you want. Now, on terms of large instances, we're just getting started. So right now you have US, and first half of 2017, you'll see Australia and Europe. And it'll grow from there. And as I said, another part of security is kind of slightly different, which is as they're going to HANA, they're also getting more and more employees touching the system, the HANA systems. And this is where they're saying, hey, can I protect the devices? I don't have to just, cover the 20 finance people who touch the system, but I want my whole field folks have access to the system, let's say, and how do I secure the data access to it? So this is where I was talking about that EMS investments come in. And then now let's kind of flip to the app development agility. So obviously there's a ton of tools, a ton of platform services. Yesterday we announced our container investments, additional further container investment, and then when you go down to not just that, but if you have, if you're used to any one of your favorite databases or infrastructure pieces or application platform pieces or what have you, you've got access to all of this in Azure. And this is sometimes people kind of almost make a decision. I've encountered customers who basically feel, because they haven't looked into it, as to how much support we have for OSS in Azure, right? So when they look at it, they say, whoa, okay, I did not know that. Somebody told me if you want to do Windows, .NET, whatever, you go to Microsoft, otherwise, go elsewhere. And you will just see, in fact, you probably have heard this conference, the rate at which we are even contributing to open source. So almost anything that you are used to is there, okay, on that platform. So you can continue with your rapid innovation. But then there is some other stuff that you may not be used to. So there is a whole bunch of investments made in what we call this end-to-end, taking data raw from the things that you have out in the enterprise, and then being able to kind of either just at the simplest level, just figure out, monitoring what happened, or a little bit of diagnostics as to why did it happen. So you'd have inbuilt platform services like OMS that can give you Splunk-like analytics if you want, or be more predictive with machine learning and say, hey, what will happen? And then translate that into a plan as to what should I do when this happens, and then maybe even take action. So this whole thing is, when you could talk about innovation and doing things differently in your operations, a whole bunch of these investments that we have in Azure are now readily available, very, very close to where your SAP HANA data is. And then of course connected to your applications like Office. So the next big dilemma is, hey, what do I do for this, all my business continuity needs, from reliability to HA, DR, what have you. And then, and many people have that thing nailed pretty well, but in the past have created a kind of rigid systems that are pretty reliable. They've got all that thing pretty well covered. But then you can't walk up to your IT guy and say, hey, spin me up this environment because I've got this customer support thing, or I want to have 3 of my teams in parallel go do a refresh. Okay, I don't want them to wait for an environment, because we find pretty expensive SAP resources many times are waiting. Either they are waiting for the systems to clear, or waiting for the data to load, or environment to be ready, or what have you. And we want this thing happening, very, very rapidly. So both of these are kind of, again, forces that pull against each other. So in terms of business continuity, we can go into the details, but basically, as I said, more reliability than you're used to in cloud, 4 nines, okay, for an HA pair here. And inbuilt support for backups, full backups that too. So you can every hour if you want, or every 4 hours, in split second take a full backup, consistent. So when you restore, not only do you get this, but you get it because it is synchronized between storage and the database consistency. And it is painless, right? You don't see any difference in your performance as you take this, so you can take it very, very often. And it doesn't take too much storage, extra storage space. It'll only take the deltas of that has happened. So, and you can do many of them. So you can go back at whatever point in time that you want. You can have 60, 50 of them lying around. You can set many policies. You can say do it every hourly, every day, every week. And as a result, be able to pick the point that you want, and depending on how far back you go, you may have more or less amount of logs to run to get to the point that you want. So that's kind of inbuilt into the system. Also, so all you have to do is maybe buy more storage if you want to use that, or you can use your traditional methods of backing up. And the recovery time objective is pretty rapid too, because you're not moving large amount of data. You just mount that snapshot and go. Also, DR is included. So we have, we take care of all the connectivity between 2 sites, reflect these snapshots to some other site, and be able to go restore it, just like I said, from backups for DR reasons. So you can have pretty rapid and point-in-time disaster recovery. And your DR nodes could be used for something else, because this is just storage replication. So your nodes could be used for QA or what have you. And many times for your refresh and QA, you want to restore data, production data to go run your tests against. Those will be available at the remote site. So you can almost combine all these processes together. And in terms of agile operations, I would say, on-demand spin-up, shutdown of these GS5 or dev test systems. Also, the large instances can play a dual role. So you can have all its state and everything saved, and you can be able to, your investment and commitment to a large node could be used for, as I said, QA and DR, or to a couple different jobs. We talked about reproducing consistent production databases for QA. And then while you're running all of this thing here, you've got access to our management services, which are again heterogeneous and combined stuff on-prem and in the cloud. So you could be doing things like log analytics, so not just collecting of logs, but like searching through them in a Splunk-like manner, or automation from the cloud using Azure automation, and like log backups using ASR and so on. And this is the kind of dashboards you can have for it. So I think overall I just basically, I think I covered all these areas. Broadest support for different applications, largest scale of any hyperscale cloud. We talked about scale, and then enterprise proven in terms of compliance and access from different parts of the world. I can take questions now. Yeah.
Can you see Africa figuring very prominently on the map?
Yes. Yeah, you'll see announcements for Africa too. But right now, many of the customers there are okay with something in kind of EMEA, okay. But yes, there needs to be investments. Right now, many of our customers are using the Azure Stack or on-prem kind of solutions there. Yeah. Any other? Yeah.
Regarding the memory.
Yeah.
2 terabyte for HANA OLAP. Is that a scale?
Scale out. It's a scale out.
Already scale up.
And we scale up to 3 terabytes today. Okay. And the architecture is such that you'll keep seeing growth there. Yeah. Yes.
What are your recommendations in terms of a number of snapshots?
Good question. Yes. So there is a theoretical limit of around 250, but I don't want you to go to 250. Okay, that's just a theoretical limit. Okay. You'll have to live within a couple things. One is how much storage you want to have extra for these snapshots, and then like how much do you really need? Okay, in terms of do you mind if you have to go back 2 weeks? If you have to go 2 weeks or 3 weeks and just run the logs for a day. If that's the case, then you have these separate policies which will say, okay, take hourly snapshots and keep 50 of them around, and then take daily backups and keep 7 of them around, and then take weekly backup and keep 4 of them around. And you probably cover your gamut. And I think that whole sum total thing will put you into the 70, 80 snapshot range. We have best practices given, but here this is a kind of hard question to answer, because different people have a different the rate of change of their data. Yeah. Yeah.
Enable the function.
Yeah.
Is it pre-populated with some values? Or is it just a blank field that you put in the values?
I got it, yes. So, okay, so the way you configure this is inside your, in your control. So we give you the scripts and the parameters you fill in, or the cron jobs that you run as to how often you want to do that is in your control. We just kind of give you an example, okay, but after, we in fact tell you for, start it every 4 hours, watch it, and then settle on a good solution that works for you, okay? Because of the just variability of how people do it. Also, we give it to you in control, to control, and we don't do it for you. Though we, when you run it, it's a synchronized backup that are happening. Is On your own, you'll decide someday to, you know, upload a large amount of data or do a major modification. You should stop taking snapshots then, right? Because it'll just suddenly see a big jump in your data. But you have visibility, so you also need to monitor how much the snapshot space is being taken, right?
Triggering the snapshots is through SAP API.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions in relation to the large instances.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Since we're talking about the snapshots, and these are physical machines, do you have visibility to the storage accounts in order to use them for backups or snapshots? And how do you do the snapshots in that particular case? That's one question. The second question, you mentioned some hardware limits, for instance, the storage.
Yeah.
If you need to increase the storage, what are the reasons?
Very good. Okay.
Can you attach the same way that you can do it from the Azure portal or with the browser?
Okay. So about 3 questions. First, yeah. So the first one is you can of course use blob store, okay, in Azure, and generally we suggest that's a good thing for like cold storage. If you want to do 7 years of backup or something like that, go use that and use ASR to move those. And probably the best practice would be to kind of make it synchronous with one of your regular activities that you would do, okay? So that's kind of your storage account question, right? But on large instance itself, you have option of increasing the storage that we give you. So we give you storage and we divide it up in volumes and everything based on the best practices from SAP, right, for different configurations. So typically, roughly speaking, you know, if you get a SKU for 3 terabytes, you'll get 12 terabytes of storage, okay, which is plenty. You wouldn't really have any problems to get started. But then if you decide, hey, you know, I like the snapshot stuff, and the way I can do many of them, and you require, you know, 4 more terabytes, you can ask for it, and we'll add it to the overall setup. Yeah, yeah.
It's not like I can provision it and install it as I do with the other instances, with the regular instances.
Say that again? You can provision it.
It's not done with the same process as we do with the other virtual instances.
That's right, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Put a physical disk or attach it.
Yeah, nobody has to go put a disk. It's yeah. But we will carve you out more space, you know, as you require. Was there a third question in there? No, this is it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any others? Looks like no more questions. Okay. Thank you for your time.